Welcome 8th graders to day number 3 of your robot research project. This video will go in depth to a few things, so take your time going through it. Pause the video as you need, but I will go through a lot of information. The first thing is going through your Google Slides that you will eventually be creating with your robot research presentation. We need to know when you create slides, what are good things you should do and what are things you should avoid or bad things. So you're going to view a few examples of each. After that, you're going to start your research, and I'm going to try my best to show you how to get started, what to look up, and how to fill out your Google Slides. So we'll get started and look at first just an overview of what we're doing. And so at this point, you should have already picked a robot to research. If you haven't done that yet, go back to your day number 2 in your design notebook to find a robot that you know you're going to research and tell your teacher. You can't really do much until you pick an actual robot that you know you're going to research. Once you've done that, though, we're going to be talking a lot about research, where you ultimately just have to learn a lot of information about your robot. And so there are some guided questions that I will show you that will help guide what you need to look up. And then we're going to start creating our Google Slides today, and then you'll also have next class, day number 4 of this project, to research and finish up your Google Slides. And then lastly, remember, you will eventually be presenting your robot and your presentation to your class. You'll have a sample presentation shown to you during day number 4 also. So with that being said, let's talk about your Google Slides, between creating and editing them, and ultimately, what are some good things you should do? What are some bad things you should do? So if you go to your design notebook, we are on day number 3, so click on the bookmark there for day number 3. It'll take you there. And I want to read through a couple things that you need to remember when you're presenting. And so as the presenter, make sure that you're going to have your first and last name on your presentation. Do not write paragraphs. We're going to use bullet points, and I'll go over that in a little bit in this video. And then when you present during your video or during your presentation, then you can elaborate on your bullet points and go into detail with that. Correct spelling matters, and then make it appealing to your audience. So eventually you are going to make sure you have appropriate font size, not too big, not too small. You'll have an image of each on each slide, and then change your background so it's a little bit more appealing, and you'll cite your sources. So those are things that you will need to do. Once it's created, here are 2 links that will show you good examples and bad examples. And so for your activity right now, you're going to write down things that make for a poor presentation, try to get up to that aspire to do, and things that make a good presentation. And to help you with that, let's click on these links that will show you good and bad presentations. So here are some things where it says, who thought an image in the background was a good idea? So notice here, too much information that this is very hard to read and follow. So as an audience isn't going to read this. So this is too much information, which would not be a good thing. That would be a bad thing. There's so much to read here. And then some type of image or map. Clearly, this would not be easy to follow. Think about your audience trying to follow along and learn for your presentation. This is not easy to understand, so this would not be a good sample. Boring fonts, try to avoid that. You'll want to make it a little bit more appealing. And so you can continue to go through this website. You can also click on the other one that will go over some things that you should be doing also. And so when you click on this, it'll go through bad ideas, good ideas. And so your activity, you need to write down some things that are poor, some things that are good. Okay. When you're done with that, you have an idea of what you will be doing with your Google Slides. Get rid of that. We are then going to start our research. And so to do that, you're going to want to open up your Google Slides. And so follow along with me. You're going to go to Schoology. Now, obviously, if you have Mr. Severson, Mr. Myers, it may look a little different. But if you go down, for me, it's going to be in the folder Robot Research. And then Robot Presentation Google Slides. So you'll want to click on this link. And from here, you're going to open up then robot presentation, and these are Google Slides that you are going to be filling in. So you do need to have these. Please do not create your own Google Slides and start from scratch, because when you open them, you're going to see then there is already information filled in. And so the first slide is just going to be your title, your cover slide. And so at the bottom of every slide, it's going to tell you what you should have filled in. So it says here, include the name of your robot, an image of your robot, and your first and last name. That's all you need to do for slide number 1. So when you go to slide number 2, it says at the top, you'll notice all the headings at the top are already filled in, and that'll kind of guide what you need to look up for that slide. So there's advantages and disadvantages of your robot, the impact of your robot, going backwards, how your robot works. And so for slide number 2, it says, what is, and then in parentheses, your robot. Don't leave this here for your robot. You need to actually change it. So for my sample, let's say I'm researching DaVinci robot. I would then replace this with, what is DaVinci robot? Notice I'm replacing that. So you need to do that everywhere you see your robot. And then you're going to look at the bottom for the questions and research that you need to find for each slide. So for this slide, you would need to fill in the information of what type of robot is it, what task does the robot perform, what human function or task does the robot simulate, where is the robot used, and then of course insert an image of your robot. So by looking at these questions at the bottom, that'll help guide what you're going to research. So advantages and disadvantages of your robot. And again, notice they are color coded. And so make sure you use that information or those questions to help guide what you're looking up. So I will do a sample little research with you here. So if I'm looking up DaVinci robot, and my first slide here is, what type of robot is it? What task does it perform? I'm going to go to Google. And notice one thing I'm going to need is a image. So I've typed in DaVinci robot surgery. And from there, I'm going to take just one of these images. I don't know if it's letting me because I have the video screen going. Let's see if this will work. There we go. So I'll go back and insert an image. You can obviously resize it to what will make sense and be appealing. And then one of the things we need to remember is making it appealing. And so I'm going to change the background. And so trying to think where the background is again. There we go. Format. Nope. All right, so when I clicked off the image, then the background icon showed up, and so I can then change if I want to have an image as the background, or if you want to change the color, I could do that. I could also go to Theme, and you'll notice if I click on Theme here, it's going to automatically change for each one the type of font, the type of layout it is, and so you can see it automatically changes all of that. I'll just have to change the color background here. So you get to decide what you think is most appealing. And so I'm just going to go with this here. And now at this point, I want to actually start researching and looking up these answers. So if I'm looking up basic information for the DaVinci, well, let's just start with Google. And I'm going to just type in DaVinci robot, robotic surgery, what is it? Now, if I was on a different slide, such as advantages and disadvantages, I could obviously narrow down my search by typing in advantages and disadvantages and see what comes up. So for right now, though, I'm just doing the basic background information of what is it. And I don't want to just pick one website. Even if it has a lot of information, I need to browse through multiple sources and then pick from different ones. And so what I'm going to do, instead of just opening this up, I'm going to open it up in a new tab. And I'm going to do that with a few other options down below. So by doing this then, I can skim through these different tabs, maybe by doing 3 of them. I'm just picking 3 random ones right now. If I look through these, maybe this will be enough information for me to answer the questions, but if not, then I may have to go through some more sources. So, looking through the questions again, I'm looking for, where was it? What type of robot is it? What task does the robot perform? And what human function? Where is it used? So that basic background information. When you're researching, it takes a lot of time. And I know a lot of students want to just find that quick answer, put it in, and be done. But you're going to have to read through, skim through a lot of information and decide what information you want to put in. So please be patient when you're doing that. And so skimming through, we're looking for that information, talking about traditional open heart surgery. And as I look through this, even if I find my answers, I'm going to go to my different website here and see if there's any other information that may help or add to it. So here it's talking about it performs complex, minimally invasive surgical procedures with precision and accuracy. Okay, so I know it's a robotic surgery. It expands the surgeon's capabilities for open heart surgery or open surgery. And it goes through some more here. So hope you get the idea. It's going to take a while to just skim through information and search for your answers. So when I go back here, I can start filling in then the answers to these questions. So what type of robot is it? Well, I would type in a robotic surgery robot. Okay, and I'm going to continue to answer those guided questions at the bottom. Now notice I'm not using complete sentences. I can have this as my bullet point, and then when I present, I can talk a little bit more in depth about that. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and then complete the rest of this slide for you rather than going through each part and taking the time to do that. So for this slide, then you can see what is Da Vinci robot. I put it's a surgical robot operated by doctors. It performs minimally invasive surgeries such as open heart surgery, head, neck, mouth, throat surgeries, general surgeries, and then answers the questions at the bottom. Where is the robot used? Well, it's used worldwide in over 1,700 hospitals. And so I got that information, and then I have an image right here. And so I've answered each of these questions at the bottom. And so you at this point then would want to go to the next slide and do the same. So it does take a long time to go through, but this is what you're working on for the rest of day number 3. And you'll also have day number 4 to do that. So going back to what you're doing, we talked about creating, editing your Google Slides, and now it's at this point just time to research. And so just a couple reminders for you. Number 1, cite your sources on the final slide. That's the only thing you need to do on that final slide. Remember to find multiple sources. You should have, must have at least 2. You should have 4, but aspire to get 5 or even more than that that you're using. Remember, is the source credible? So just because you find it on the front page of Google doesn't necessarily mean that that's the final answer. So by having different sources, that'll help making sure that it is credible. And then, like I said, be patient. Researching takes a lot of time and a lot of reading to search for your answer. It's not just a matter of Google searching it, finding an answer, and being done. You do have to look through a lot of information to complete these slides. And then what should you research? Just use those guided questions at the bottom of your Google Slides. If you do have questions, reach out to your teacher, but hopefully you enjoy learning about your robot and putting together your Google Slides for your presentation.